Ladies, gentlemen, and miniatures of all ages, Grounded 2 has been in early access for just over a month now, and considering how early on we are in the process of this game being created, we know that we essentially have 1/3 of what the end product will look like. There's still a ton going on in this game. However, a lot of people have completed what is on offer right now, and dove as deep as they want to with the currently available stuff, and maybe you've stopped playing, taking a break until more things are added. So today we're going to talk about the updates that we've had since the launch of early access, the patches and what they've done, and then we'll talk about the known plans for the future of Grounded 2 moving forwards and everything that's been said about it leading up into its eventual full release. First up then, let's just round up the patches that have happened for the game since launch. 0.1.2 released at the start of August, and this was just a number of quite small changes. Things like acorns now always dropping an acorn top when busted, instead of it being just a % chance, or buggies being able to be summoned from further away, or fixing the bug where thrown weapons would sometimes just get stuck in the sky and then be lost forever. There are just a whole load of general bug fixes as a whole, and some stability fixes to try and help the game run a bit better for players having issues with it too. After that, just last week we had the release of patch 0.1.3, and this one made snail shells disappear after 24 hours, which is honestly sad. I had a couple of snail shells sitting around near a base that I was ready to bust when tier 3 busting was added to the game, but now my treasure trove shall perish. They also added game options for resetting creatures and resetting buggies to help with any instances of things just not being where they are supposed to be, clipping into walls, stuff like that. They also did another stability improvement, estimating around a 30% performance gain from the previous patch, which is a pretty sizable improvement, and they patched a number of duplication glitches for the game too. One big major change in here is that resources no longer respawn through player-built structures, meaning if you want to build your house somewhere but there is like 50 blades of grass in the way there, you now only have to cut them down once and they won't respawn as long as you build on top of them. This then opens up way more areas for potential base locations than there were before, and they also just did another round of bug fixes as well. But those are the main things from this patch. Overall, you could consider these to be more minor patches. They are both making positive changes to the game, and a pretty large number of them, but only 1 or 2 of them per patch that has a large impact in itself. That said, we were given a roadmap for the major updates coming in the year or so after release of early access that gives us quite a bit of an outline of what the plans are up to full release. There was also an interview done at Gamescom quite recently that gave us some extra context, footage, and information about the 2 soonest of these major updates too. So full warnings before we continue that we are about to get into stuff that could absolutely be considered spoilers if you want to find everything out in the game when it does eventually release, but warning aside, here we go. We've got a fall update, a winter update, a summer update, and then vague future plans, theoretically just being stuff planned to be added after that point. We don't know the dates of release for any of these yet, just the sort of vague time period. First up then, the fall update, which should be relatively soon. The main addition here is Axel, the tarantula boss that we knew would eventually be added because we saw his mutation unlock. It was in some of the pre-release footage before early access even happened a while back. This is going to be the first park boss, which is a new term for these sort of massive imposing fights that require recipes to activate, sort of like the optional bosses in the first game, but on a seemingly much larger scale, which is to say that we've had a bit of footage of Axel, and he is massive, gigantic, and they said that he is around 16 times the size of the player themselves. We see him next to an orb weaver buggy, and this could only be terrifying in the actual game, and I feel the need to mention that when describing him and his size, he was noted as the biggest enemy in the game so far, which implies that there could very well be even larger things planned for the future, and we'll talk a bit more about that later in the video too. Axel then will have special attacks to deal with, and it was also mentioned that he will have multiple phases that you will have to learn and fight through too. They said the fight was designed not just around player and buggy combo combat, because you can bring the buggy into the arena, but also specifically the orb weaver buggy, which is a pretty specific thing to say, making me think there might be some fun interactions with like the web shot mechanic that the orb weaver buggy can fire. Like maybe you can web up Axel's legs and make him trip up like an AT-AT from Empire Strikes Back, but that's pure speculation from the little bit of advice that they gave. Of course, when you defeat Axel, you will also be able to gather his parts and use it to make new equipment. They mentioned a comically large bow that can be crafted from him, as well as a new storage chest that can hold a lot more than our current storage options, and a big, colorful, fancy throne for sitting on at your base too. And theoretically, there will be more things than that as well, of course, but that's what they were willing to tease us with. Aside from Axel specifically then, this fall update should also have some building improvements improvements and some new text translations for the game too. But this is largely focused on Axel, who should be a pretty big deal when he is added in. Next up, we have the winter update, and the main feature for this one is a new biome and area added into the park, which is the gardens area. This is the area to the east of the statue on your map. You can see the greenhouse in the distance in game if you look that direction from a high up location. Here is the map that you can find on top of the podium in the park. It's just in the park. If you overlay the actual map that we currently have on top of it, you can see the gardens area where the little number 2 bubble is over in the top left. We also got some extra info about this location from the Gamescom interview. We saw concept art of various areas within the garden, stuff like the greenhouse, which is going to be a super humid biome with unique creatures as a result of it, all types of various crazy plants too. It looks pretty awesome. There's a big pumpkin patch outside of the greenhouse, which will probably have some awesome spots for building bases around, or even inside of the pumpkins potentially. And there's also a vegetable garden in the area that they've said that they've made function almost like a hedge maze for the players, which should be a pretty fun experience too. This update will also have new equipment, new insects like crickets, earwigs, and variants of existing insects too. It'll have the update to the sour damage type as well, which in theory will mean things like a sour candy staff for the mage players out there as well, and it will have a peeper update, which we don't know about, but interesting to know that they plan on properly updating that mechanic. Tier 3 equipment in general, including Tier 3 Omni-Tool upgrades, will also be added here, mushroom building properly, and new furniture and base defenses and stuff like that. But then another major big feature, the first additional buggy to be added into the game, the Ladybug, and this will also come with the ability to use the peeper on your buggy and quality of life changes for buggies in general. We also saw some concept art for the Ladybug buggy in action from the Gamescom interview, including this image that shows 2 players riding the Ladybug at the same time, and a full-on acorn turret up on the back of it, and I absolutely adore this idea. Obviously, it's just concept art, it's not in-game footage, it's entirely possible we will not have it actually work like this in-game, but the idea of not only a multi-person mount, which is cool, but one that has a full-on mounted turret too, is such a cool idea for advancing the concept of buggies further, and it would make so much sense. It would be so fitting as a way to differentiate the Ladybug from the existing buggies we have right now, which will most definitely be a lot slower than them, but tankier than them as well. So why not make it like a literal tank mount? I love this so much, and I really hope that we actually get it, but I'm trying not to get my hopes too far up, as again, it's only concept art for now. Next up, we've got the summer update for next year, so this will release around a year after the original start of early access. We have much more vague information about this one. As a result, we know that it will be the addition of the pond biome. The actual biome name is graffitied out, but it's pretty obvious by the other entries being swimming, watery buggies, and watery creatures, so this will be the water biome for Grounded 2, and a whole load of related additions to it as well. There will be watery base building options, which is cool. It could be very, very intriguing depending on how they do it, and Tier 4 equipment being added to the game, as well as Tier 4 Omni-Tool upgrades too. This update also has an upgrade to the actual smoothie mechanic system in the game too, the addition of zip lines for Grounded 2, which were left out of this game for now, to try and force people to traverse more normally in the meantime, using things like buggies to get around the map to help the developers just develop that experience and make that side of exploration feel better, rather than just letting players zipline everywhere they want right from the start of the game. Then finally, we have the future plans section of the roadmap, which has 2 areas that are graffitied off, but if you look over at the map of the park that we get from the podium in game with the current map laid over it again, this would be the bottom right from this angle, as well as the top right section of the map. These sections on the map itself include a full-on road, but I would expect the bottom right area here to end at that gate here with the hedge on it, but this is a little playground looking spot possibly similar to the sandbox from the first game. And the top right area, we know from the notations of the map, is actually a newly renovated bathroom area, so it's entirely possible that the final area that will be added to Grounded 2 before its full release will be a bathroom biome, which is equal parts terrifying and very interesting, especially with it being marked as a newly renovated, specifically bathroom. I could see that implying that it's like a massive ominous facility built into a structure that happens to look like it's a bathroom at full human size, but it's much more ominous for us at our size, something along those lines. As for other additions that are planned for the future along with these, there's passive mutations, which in theory wouldn't require chosen slots, active mutations 2.0, which would be a proper update to the mutation system we already have. They also plan new buggies, mutations for buggies, which sounds like a great feature, buggy customization, and buggy progression as well, which is awesome. New creatures, of course, is to be expected. New park bosses, so more of what Axel is going to be. And then it says new colossi, which isn't something we've had specifically described yet, but based on the name, of course, and the offhand offhand line about enemy size in the Gamescom interview, I would expect these colossi to just be even larger bosses than the park bosses already are. Things that are even more terrifying in size, scale, and the challenge they offer than what Axel is looking to be. There will of course be new equipment. They've mentioned new archetypes, which means that we will have new weapon types added to the game too, not just more weapons for the existing types, and then also the final round of the Omni Tool upgrades as well to reach tier 5. There will be new materials for building with, new building options and customization, and a cool feature here mentioned is base moving, which I imagine means just essentially moving an entire section of structures in one go, instead of just relocating one single object at a time. Then a bunch of text translations for the game to make it more accessible for more players to be able to enjoy. And that just about does it for today then, everyone. Everything that has happened with the updates to Grounded 2 so far, as well as everything that we currently know about the future for Grounded 2. I hope you've all enjoyed this roundup, and let me know what you think about what is coming up for the game, and how it's shaping up to look before its eventual full release. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.